endangered species working to create awareness through a campaign. Our endangered species is the Amur leopards. Amur leopards are the most endangered feline in the world, with only 35 left of them, living in eastern Russia and China. We were wondering if we could ask you a few questions about awareness and what you believe are some of the best ways to create a successful campaign.
Absolutely.
So what does your koala project do, really?
So when we were actually doing it, because we don't really do anything for it anymore at the school, but over about a 5-year period, because it all started where the year 7s they identified that there was a problem with the decline in numbers in koalas. That's what they identified first. And it all sparked from the fact that in our local area here, there wasn't anything really here supporting directly injured koalas, and that's what stemmed it straight away. And there was 2 blokes that do it privately and get a small amount of funding, I think, to do it, that go and rescue koalas. And there's also the Yamundi Wildlife Centre up the road that gets wildlife, any natural wildlife from the area, and helps rehabilitate them. So we, with the infrastructure all going in everywhere, a lot of wildlife are getting, there's wild dogs and things, there's wild dogs and just general domestic dogs and things that attack a lot of wild animals, because we found out that it wasn't just about the decline in numbers for koalas. It was actually that it stemmed us on to the fact that all the natural wildlife is getting affected by the infrastructure. Okay, then this, with all the new suburban sort of sprawl that's going in, if you have a look over the back near Coles, all those trees getting knocked down, that's all habitat, essentially. And that wildlife needs to go somewhere. So in that little adventure they have to try and get somewhere, all these things happen to them, where they can either get injured, killed, get disease, all sorts of things. So we decided that we wanted to make a difference. So we started off working out some different ways of fundraising and creating awareness. So the initial one was a party, which I think you guys were involved with initially, weren't you? I think you guys
we might have been.
I think you were, and we had that, and that's what that year 7 party was about. So it was a way of going, okay, let's bring a bunch of people together to try and get some money to donate. We also contacted all the subways. We had a connection here at school, and I went and saw the wildlife centre, and we got little money tins to put in a bunch of shops around the place to try and get as much money that way. We did little things around the school, but all this we sort of worked out was great. But and they were very, very appreciative sending this this money to the wildlife centre, and we even actually adopted some koalas from the zoo. It was good, but it wasn't essentially it wasn't fixing the big problem. It definitely helps, but it doesn't solve the big problem. And I think what we found afterwards was that the awareness was a big thing that can trigger an impact, and to basically create as much awareness as possible through information on the animal, on ways and that we can actually support them, and ways that people can actually, things that they can do that can have an impact on what happens to the animals and their habitat. Because it's really about the habitat. You can save, if you're just trying to save injured animals, it's not really fixing the root of the problem. So there's an interesting, I think it's all about exposure in the end, and educating people. So what I believe after that 5 years and we ended up just doing awareness in the end mainly than fundraising, is that awareness and education to students and families of what essentially the consumer, whoever buys houses and lives in these areas, whoever votes for whatever local council are in, you're informed on what their policies are. You know the impacts of what kind of infrastructure is going in. Like if a big, say a big fun park was going to go in and it means knocking down a whole lot of habitat, you're involved in that, knowing what the consequence is, that the people, the actual developers that are going to do that are held accountable for what they're how the impact they're going to do and how to minimise that impact. And the only way that can happen is from us as a people to be able to then vote and impact and have policies that they then have to basically run by, okay, when they're putting the stuff in. So essentially when you do that, you've got a bunch of things. You can create councils to do that. There's creating things like a website and having information that goes out to people as much as possible in different ways, whether it's through when they go to shops to buy things, there's information pamphlets and all those sort of things. They go a fair way to try and get that out. But I think the more you can experiment with how you get that information out, the better. I think in schools there should be information on your local area, or some element, like with sustainability maybe, in schools where you actually, students, there is a little section, whether it's a week or you have 1 week about wildlife awareness, local wildlife awareness or some week or something like that. And particularly young primary students are the ones that it impacts up till probably about year 9, I think, until unfortunately we become so self-absorbed. We don't really, it goes in one ear and we go, that sounds sad, and then we forget about it. Yeah. You want to be able to have something there that, maybe reminds us each week, but gives information, not just let's make money for these wildlife. It's about what's going on here. What hit me most about that was there was 35 left, was there?
Yeah.
See, that stuck with me. I don't know anything really else. I hardly even knew the name of the leopard, but I knew that number really hit me. 35's not many. So what I would want to know is how do we maintain that? How do we grow that population? What kind of things can I do, and choices can I make in life that can help impact those animals? Like I know with koalas, they put in these natural corridors, they call them. They're native corridors, and what they are, they're these wide sections of land that is untouched, and they usually come out at different types of natural forestry, or reserve, and that allows it's almost like a highway for animals to get to places to be able to get out of suburban area. So that was, and that whole initiative would have come from a group of people and would have come from a policy or a movement through council to say, we need to put this land needs to be untouched, we need to make sure that stays there, and then that becomes part of the solution to a problem where we can coexist with them. Yeah. Is this kind of making sense? So, all of this again stems back from, okay, money is great, but it doesn't fix the problem.
So donations aren't like the most important thing; it's more
awareness.
Yeah.
And it seems a bit like fluffy wuffy, going, but it is. It's information to people, because that's what hits home. Information and strategies for them to be able to make choices in the future for their lifetime on the choices of what they buy, where they live, how they live, what they do, whether they leave rubbish, everything in terms of how they impact and minimise that impact to the natural environment.
Yeah, I think that's what we're trying to do with trying to create awareness about what sort of things are poached and what they've come into, like Chinese medicine,
There you go. So yeah, and they're the things that you want to research, because they're the stuff that people don't know. There's always the sad story, but never ways to help a solution, or ways or information on what's impacting this problem, why these poor leopards are actually dying, why they're not actually able to coexist with what's going on. So that's where you may not be able to stop that, or there might be sanctuaries that people can directly donate to that then can help them re-establish their population. You've got to work out the more grounds roots approach, and then give that information to the public of how to.
What do you believe is the best way to begin a campaign to promote endangered species? Where to start off from?
To start a campaign, what you're doing now is a good start. So get as much information on how to do things. I think getting a team of people, establishing a bit of a team to actually, with different qualifications, is one of the best ways to start. Because if you wanted to start a website, you need someone who's qualified to be able to do that and has the skills to do that. You need someone who can actually be that people's person, who might need to collect data, or who can do the more pamphlet style of thing. You need some people that could, maybe do some research and all those sort of things. So I think the best way to start is to establish all the things that you want to try and incorporate into making awareness, and then making a team and approaching those people to do that and establish it. It's almost like a business plan,
Yeah.
if that makes sense, and then go from there. It's a hard one because you can go. There are another one too is research. So I would interview. Like you're doing with me, but I'm simply a teacher that had an idea at a school. There are people that actually do this professionally, so I would actually do, have an interview with an organisation that's actually established and see what, ways that they actually do create awareness for their wildlife or whatever they do, and then you can adopt and take some of those things and make them your own.
What platform of advertising have you found to be the most effective? Like, what do you think got the most awareness across?
That's a good question. I would have liked to have gone further with it. Like for us, I think it was the best way was large scale. Like if you had the money, you would want an advertisement on a big advertisement that can actually have time next to a road, or a leaflet that people can see, like an advertisement on television that actually gives those facts quickly to a mass of people. Because I found that when I did a video and an explanation to the whole cohort as one large body and showed that information in those videos, it probably had the most significant impact. I think if you're going to get it out to people, trying to hand pamphlets it's a hard one. Like I think an event, if there's going to be an event that gets a buy-in from people and that they can sort of be involved in as well, that not only the event, suddenly it's like, oh yeah, we're digging holes somewhere or something like that, but suddenly that's when the information can be given to those people too, and then be distributed outwards. Like those people then can be representatives and go from there. That's always the best way, I think. That event to start, it may not, ours was a disco, which has nothing to do with koalas, yet it brought the people in, and then you can provide that information.
What have you found to be the best method for fundraising for awareness?
Okay, so it's a good one. It's as long as there's a good cause, it's not too expensive, because sometimes people find that if you have to sign up for anything, people always will keep walking to that. From that, I think again, this has come back to that. If there's a big event that brings people together as a community, I think can bring it. You get that body of people, you can actually fundraise a lot of money in a very quick way at fairs and things like that. When we did some stuff at fairs, people always coming wanting to spend money on stalls and everything. I don't think direct donations aren't always the best. Having something that is a challenge or something that to make a bit of fun where people can go, oh look, it's for charity anyway.
Yeah.
So I'll throw some money at that.
Yeah.
That's what
So
you
they're
want.
actually doing something, not just
Going, here's some money, and you walk around collecting. You can get a lot of loose change and things like that, but if you really want to make money quickly, you need to have a range of things that you can do over the space of time that you've decided to fundraise for. And actually the things that you do have some meaning that is a little either a challenge, whether incorporating, I shouldn't say like gambling, but they do, but something where people are taking a bit of a risk and could maybe win something. It's all in the name of fundraising. If you can make a game that's fun, whether and ultimately it's best if it isn't something that you win. Generally it's something that gives the people the thought, oh look, I'll have a go, it's for fundraising. You know what, that's the easiest way people spend money, is because they go, I wouldn't normally have a go at this, but 100% of it's going to fundraising, or 90%, so I'll have a go. Yeah.
So do you believe that either fundraising or awareness is more important to ensure a successful campaign?
Well, like before, I think awareness. Yeah. I think fundraising is good, and those hand in hand together with the awareness.
Like you need the awareness to get the fundraising to work.
Yeah, and you need and like the other one too. Like having a good fundraiser. If you don't actually have that awareness and give the information, it starts and ends in that moment. Yeah. Whereas if you have when you want something where they do the activity, and the awareness is what stays in the heart. Yeah.
That's what we decided to do because our aim was to raise funds, but also we figured that people wouldn't donate unless they actually knew what was happening, because not many people know about them in the first place. So that was the kind of the goal for our whole assignment, was to get the word out there before
First, and
expecting.
then going. And that's right, like when you go to it's so annoying, and it breaks my heart every time. My Woolworths always has those people standing out the front saying, hey, come and can you spare some time to come and do this, and there'll be the picture of a kid in Africa with lack of water or something like that, and you see the picture and you go, oh, it's probably got something to do with that, but you're not fully invested in it because you don't really know much about it. Whereas that's a really smart maneuver. Is if there was this sort of campaign that happened and then the event happened and you go, oh, I know all about that.
Yeah.
That's clever.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you very much for
No
your
worries.
advice. It was very helpful.
Cool.
Thank
No
you.
worries. Well done, girls.